Well, all of Hollywood, as well as DC Studios, seems to be at full stop. But yesterday, we got an update from James Gunn on Creature Commandos, and it's finally a bit of good news. Let's dive into what he said and when we can expect the show. Well, we've known for a long time that Superman Legacy is basically going to serve as the official starting point for the DCU in theaters. But we are actually going to get our first look at this rebooted world when the Creature Commando series launches on the Max streaming service sometime next year. Now, there has been very little revealed about the upcoming show, outside of some of the voice cast, and it's big, with names like Frank Grillo, David Harbour, and Alan Tudyk joining the team. Basically, we know nothing about the show or the direction it's going. Now, this is the first entry in DC Studios' plans to create this massive shared world, very similar to the MCU, but even more connected, focusing on not just television shows and movies, but also video games, creating a new dynamic that we haven't ever seen before, and hopefully Gunn is able to pull off. Now, recently, over on Instagram, James Gunn was asked whether there's a risk that Creature Commandos could be delayed as a result of the ongoing WGA and SAG strikes. And we actually got the first little bit of good news in a long time, because he said it's animated, so it's separate from the strike. We're working on it. I love it. I think it's going to be so different than what people expect. Now, Gunn has already revealed the show will be 8 episodes, which is long enough to tell a decent story. But from his response here, it sounds to me like we might be farther along in production than we'd hoped for, so this makes me hopeful we could get some first looks, or maybe even a teaser trailer sometime very soon. Now, my one concern is this. As of today, Superman is still set to release in 2025, but the strike, should it continue longer than expected, definitely could impact that release date. This in turn could impact Creature Commando's release date because even though the show might be in production, DC Studios and Warner Bros. Discovery probably wants to release these projects in closer proximity to each other, and if Superman's delayed, it might cause them to delay Creature Commandos. Now, there's a lot of other stuff they're working on, including Waller, the Penguin, and Superman and Lois, all which have had the brakes on them, so Creature Commandos does have that advantage of moving forward, and if Warner Bros. Has nothing else to present, well, that could still come our way next year. I have to say, since the first chapter is called Gods and Monsters, and we are literally kicking off the story with monsters, I think the series is going to be way more important than anybody's expecting, and the level of foreshadowing that's going to come our way from James Gunn here is probably going to be pretty mind-blowing. When you go back and watch Guardians of the Galaxy, all the foreshadowing that happened in Volume 1 and Volume 2 that paid off in Volume 3, well, it made every entry better. And I suspect he's going to do the same thing with Creature Commandos and the wider DCU, so this is something to be very, very excited about. When we get our first peek, well, we're gonna have to wait and see.